So I have a question for you. It's going to put you on the spot a little bit, okay?
Oh, lovely. Thank you.
As if that's novel to this podcast, me putting you on the spot.
Yeah, but at least I have a warning.
True. Credit me for being so nice.
So thanks, Kev.
At what age did you decide, because I've had this thought, at what age did you decide I can no longer invest my efforts in listening to new music?
Oh.
Where you are no longer actively pursuing new music, new genres, new bands, new artists. You're like, my bandwidth is full, and your generation came from a generation of phenomenal music.
Right.
So at what point were you just like, and not singling you out, but I think everybody has this thought where they say, I no longer have the time or desire to learn about new music because what I have here is A-okay with me.
And it satisfies me.
Totally.
Gosh, I think I'm going to say something like maybe late 30s.
So that would put you in the 80s, late 80s?
Late 80s, early 90s.
That makes sense to me.
Name a song from that time.
Well, here's the thing.
Something really popular.
As a 90s child,
right?
I think 90s music sucks.
Yeah, for me too, the most part.
It's when it got super duper commercialized, and like the boy band thing, it had always been a thing. You had seen family bands and all male bands and all female bands, but like the boy band thing just went nuclear. And they had reality TV shows about it. They had competitions about it. There was groups of 5, groups of 4, groups of 3. And you're like, well, that can't be a boy band. It's only groups of 3. And then you're like having a meta conversation about what a boy band is. And then guys like Cisco.
Sure that I never had those conversations.
Well, of course. But then guys like Cisco got famous.
Who's Cisco?
The silver-haired thong song guy.
No, I don't know him.
Thong song?
I don't think I know
that thong, the thong.
Nope, don't know it.
Yes, you do.
I do not.
Everybody listening, even people who hate music, know the thong song. But the 90s was terrible.
Is that like I Love Big Butts?
And I cannot lie. No, that's Sir Mix-a-Lot. I believe he would have been a product of the late 80s, early 90s. But Cisco is around the same thing.
All right.
So I think if what you say is that you, Deb Z, decided that you were going to tap out on actively finding new music, that was probably the great time to pull the ripcord because you didn't miss anything for 10 years.
But here's what happens. So there are songs that I'm just going to use. I don't know if these are old songs or new songs, okay? Mm-hmm. But like there's some Justin Timberlake songs I like.
Sure.
But I just think they're probably the popular ones.
Well, and I was going to say is just because you're not actively looking for songs doesn't mean that you don't know current top 40 songs.
Right. So what ends up happening is if the song is really great or has a good beat or, whatever like that is, you'll randomly pick them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But you're not out looking for them. I'm not waiting for the next Elton John album to come out.
No, nobody is. Not even Elton John.
Elton John.
Of course, we all do. Yeah. But we love Elton John in his time capsule of when Elton John was great.
Or Steve Miller.
Right. And his band. The Steve Miller Band.
Or the...
I like that you looked at me as if I was going to fill in the blank. Or
I lost. Well, I'm going to say Chicago, but then I lost to the other guy. Oh, Doobie Brothers.
Doobie Brothers.
Yeah.
Well, you're looking at them on my wall.
I had to look up at your wall.
Deb
for a
is
clue.
literally using my wall to cheat, to remember bands from her era.
Exactly.
So what's interesting is I can remember when we owned the restaurant, there was a space next to us, and it was like it was a travel place, and then it was an insurance place. And remember, at one point, it was a make your own candle place.
Gosh, for a minute and a half?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But while it was a candle place for a minute and a half, there was a really cute girl who worked there. Now, I probably was only like 26 at the time. And so for whatever reason, and how do you casually walk into a candle store more than once?
Right. Oh, no.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
And I tried to do it like multiple times. And so I kind of figured out a schedule, and I'd go in and I'd just peruse around. And again, I don't know what line I would have used to be like, hey, that lavender candle sure has me coming back for more, even though I've never bought it before.
Why didn't you offer her a free latte from next door?
Because I was 26 and I didn't have game. Not that I have it at 36. So I can remember going over there, and I was just chatting her up about something, and I asked some dumb question like, hey, what kind of music do you listen to? And I was expecting to get some like, again, Billboard top 40 type thing. And at 26, she said to me, oh, I'm really into dubstep.
Dubstep?
Yeah. Now,
I've never even heard that.
so dubstep has now made its way to mainstream pop culture, but it's that thing of when it's like it's like a heavy drums, heavy bass, and there's always a big drop.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I'll play a song for you. For those of you who are younger millennials, you probably know dubstep. Everybody has heard a top 40 song with dubstep influences in it. And so I said, okay, well, Kevin, you got to go do your homework now. You got to go figure out what dubstep is. To say that it caught me off guard would have been an understatement, because it is like something playing at an underground German techno rave. It is blow your ears out. It is heavy drums. There are no lyrics involved with it. And in that moment, at 26 years old, I thought, well, I don't ever need to know new music. If this is where we're going, then I don't have to ever delve into what comes after this. Now, fortunately, things like Pandora and Spotify made music so accessible that if I wanted to kind of get out of my little comfort zone, I could go find dubstep or go find, world influenced music or something along those lines. But I think now with all of the technology and things like TikTok, I mean, you know who Lil Nas X is, right?
I know who Lil Nas X
And you know him because he got famous on TikTok.
with the pony song, the horse song.
Right.
Yeah. Gonna ride my horse or whatever it is.
To the Old Town Road.
Okay, there you go.
He's going to ride till he can't no more.
Yeah, right.
So I feel as though generations like yours who said at some point, I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't need that new NSYNC album.
Yeah.
I don't know that I care about Cisco and the like.
Right.
I feel like for us, we have, because it's literally at our fingertips now, we have the option to just forever consume brand new music.
Well, we have the option as well. We just don't care to.
True.
But I bet there are some people. So here, I mean, I love music. Every time I listen to music, I say to myself, oh, music makes me feel so good.
Yeah.
I mean, it can lighten a mood so easily.
Right.
And I know that to stay away from music that I don't like. Do you know what I mean? It's just
What genre of music are you just like, no gracias?
What was that thing you made me watch the other night?
Oh, Sound of Metal. So I don't know that anybody likes the movie itself. Phenomenal must watch.
Movie. Yeah.
The opening scene is, for a lot of people, noise. It's literally just noise. Yeah. And I don't know too many people like that is a subculture of a subculture, that kind of music where technically instruments are making sound, but there's no like rhythm, there's no cadence, there's no chorus. Actually? I see its value. I can see its value if you're in the right mind frame, altered or otherwise. I can see its value. But no, I'm like not casually turning on heavy scream metal while I'm going about my day.
So I would say this for me, and these are general categories, okay? Because I know as soon as I say this, people are going to go, but don't you love, and I'll say yes. But generally, if I feel like someone's screaming at me, I'm probably not going to listen to it.
Fair.
If I feel like there is just no way you can understand those words because they're screaming at me.
Okay, so we're still in the screaming category. Got it.
I can't.
Any kind of screaming, we're off. We don't like that.
Right. If I feel like I can't find, I'm just going to say the melody or the beat.
Okay.
I'm not going to be very happy with it.
But you do like jazz.
I love jazz. Yeah. But here's the thing. Then the other part would, if I feel like I'm going to have profound hearing loss upon leaving.
So no concerts.
Well, no, concerts are fine, but I'm talking about where it's just up so many decibels that's part of the deal.
So no concerts.
No, concerts are fine. Maybe I like intimate concerts.
What is an intimate concert?
An intimate concert would be...
This is the woman who was with the 75 people and Josh Groban just got on stage. So her idea of intimate is a little different than ours, as opposed to like just 3-piece band out in somebody's backyard.
Yeah. An intimate concert would be not 10,000, but more like, I don't know, 200 or 300.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want an open air amphitheater.
Oh, that would be great.
Got it.
That would be great.
With no screaming.
No screaming.
Preferably with jazz that has a chorus and a cadence to it. Maybe no lyrics in general.
I love jazz, but no.
By the way, I never went on a date with that girl, and I stopped going into the candle store because the 7th time, just trying to talk about
You should have brought a latte.
the different wax types just didn't seem to be her jam.
If you would have brought that girl a homemade fresh scone, lemon curd, and an iced latte, you probably
wouldn't be living with my parents at 36 years old. Let's start the podcast. Hey, hi, hello, and welcome to the Deb and Kev podcast. Across from me is the woman that dare go to Costco twice in 2 days. It's my mom, Deb.
I'm Deb.
And I'm the guy who's, I think, developed a slight case of agoraphobia in this last year because I can't go to Costco ever. I am her son, Kev, and this is our podcast. Thoughts?
Well, I went twice in 24 hours. Let's really be clear about that.
True.
And you are getting worse and worse and worse about going to Costco.
That's fair. On today's show, Deb is going to tackle a bit of a hot button topic in her business segment. She's going to talk about if an employer can enforce an employee to get that vaccine. And if we were employees, we would happily get it. We are also going to rip off a couple new questions in our Dear Debbie segment, 2 of which are business, 1 of which is fun. And we will let you know what we're thankful for and what our grubby little hands are going to be digging into for dinner tonight. But first, there are many topics on this podcast that I figured we would come back to with an update. What I didn't anticipate is that we would have arguably my favorite one-time topic coming back for an update. And if you are excited because you think you know what I'm about to give you an update on, trust me, you're not nearly as excited as I am because we have a Bjorn update. We have a big Bjorn Daddy update.
Don't say Bjorn Daddy.
I love Bjorn Daddy so much.
Don't say that, Kevin.
And here's why it's amazing. We talked just last podcast about your mother and how your mother still to this day exists in your ecosystem. And out of nowhere, you get a correspondence from my guy Bjorn that says what?
My mother wrote him a letter.
Your mom corresponded with Bjorn pen pal style 40 some odd years ago.
After the prom, after the Sly and the Family Stone concert, after he'd gone back to Norway, and I think was serving as United Nations peacekeeping guy in Lebanon. My mother wrote him a letter there.
All of that stuff doesn't make any sense to me, including Barbara writing him a letter. But here we are in 2021, just now learning this information. Barbara is the mother that keeps on giving.
Will not go away.
Maybe in the worst way possible.
The worst. And the way he did it was he said...
Well, first off, you read me Bjorn's messages, and this is all above board. There is nothing inappropriate that happens between you and Bjorn. Bjorn is married. You are married. He lives in Norway. You guys correspond maybe once a week, and it is very, very superficial conversations. And then he dropped this Barbara bomb on you.
Yeah, and what he actually said the first time was, so in my next message.
Oh, Bjorn is the teaser of all teasers. He will give you a topic in one email
for the next
email. So, I mean, we need, as a podcast, we should learn how we can like weaponize Bjorn's strategy of saying, do you want to know a Zener family secret? Stay tuned for next episode because he forces you to pay attention.
He forced me to write back much quicker than I otherwise would have because all he had to say was, do you know about the letter your mother wrote me? Which I will address in my next message to you.
You're not getting it now.
You're not getting it. And I don't I can't even recall what the rest of that message said.
It was not important. He led with the most important topic.
Yeah, and so I bit for sure.
Of course.
Yeah. And I believe I've said this before, if my mother were alive, I would hunt her down. I would be on the first plane to Seattle going, what the heck? I mean.
Yeah, that's the word you would have said.
So apparently, Barbara, who I don't really recall writing letters, so the fact that she wrote a guy in Norway.
You gave Barbara her own phone with calling cards where she could call you at any point in time, and she didn't.
I gave my mother an 800 number that was free into this house.
Yep.
And I gave her a box of cards for every occasion and put stamps on all the envelopes.
Yep.
Still couldn't get a happy birthday or a birthday card or thinking of you or
maybe you stripped her of all the romance. Maybe what she only wanted to do was handwrite letters, handwrite the envelopes, and send them your way. And you took that from her based on what we know.
Maybe what she wanted was to write on that beautiful European tissue paper. Do you know what I mean? That's so, maybe that's what she wanted. And I don't even know how she got his address unless I had a letter from him that was in some of my childhood stuff.
I'm with you. Like, the details of this story, we will get to what she eventually said. We're doing teaser stuff right now. We're building it up. But like the details of how your mother back in the 70s,
yeah, it would have been the 70s,
would have gotten Bjorn's Norwegian address.
And then it got forwarded to Lebanon.
It's mind-boggling. Mind-boggling.
So apparently my mother started the letter out by just talking about, as Bjorn said, her normal daily activities. Mm-hmm. Now, if you know anything about Barbara, there was nothing normal about her life, nor were there, I'm just going to say, daily activities.
Consistent daily activities.
So that just in itself didn't ring right, at least
to me, sure.
Right?
Even 40 years later.
And then she said, apparently, in the middle of the letter, I had to go take a walk.
It's my favorite part.
To clear my mind.
Yep.
To decide if I really wanted to write this letter.
She stopped writing the letter to go walk, to clear her head, to decide whether or not it was worth her time writing this letter.
Right.
Now, I don't know if you guys know this. When you're writing something and you stop and you come back to writing it, there's nothing in there that says how long you've been gone for.
But she told him that.
But she was really upfront about that.
Do you think he has the letter?
I feel like he would have said he had the letter.
Okay.
Although
he remembers.
I was going to say
specifics.
His brain is like a steel trap if he doesn't have the letter.
Yeah, if he doesn't have the letter. So then the way Bjorn said it.
Love the honesty. Love the honesty from Barbara. Hey, Bjorn, I'm sorry if you've been waiting for me to finish this letter. I just needed to go walk. Yes. Love it.
Yeah. So then the way Bjorn wrote it was, and his English is very, very good, but he is very sensitive about his English.
And he is so complimentary of your mastering of the English language. He compliments how you use your native tongue to the point where, again, I think he's gaslighting us to make it seem like we shouldn't be able to speak perfect English because he's so complimentary of how you use your words. Like,
it's wild.
Did you have some weird speech impediment or learning disability when Bjorn was around to where he's like, wow, Debbie, you really got to handle this sentence structure?
That part is like, yeah.
That is the weirdest thing. He's like, Debbie, you are so good at speaking English.
And he seems to give himself no credit for speaking at least English and Norwegian.
It's clearly a second language, just the way it's laid out.
Right,
but
right.
The way he speaks English is fluent.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah, phenomenal. So,
but not as good as you. not nearly as good as you.
Yeah. So he said, your mother wanted you and I, and then he went, Debbie and Bjorn, to be a couple.
Your mom solicited marriage for you. Your mom cleared her head to come back to ask Bjorn for his hand in marriage to your hand in marriage.
Yeah. Yeah. How embarrassing is that?
I mean, it's just wild.
Here, if you would have asked me if my mother would have even known Bjorn, I would have said no.
I mean,
I would have said she would have remembered that I went to prom with a guy from Norway.
right.
But Bjorn and I did not date.
I was going to say, I feel like you've referenced 2 dates with him.
Yes.
A dance and a concert. I'm sure there was 1 or 2 dates in between there, like even if just a group setting where you were with each other.
Was.
So your mom was taken aback by Bjorn Daddy so much.
Kevin, don't say Bjorn Daddy. Don't do it. Stop
Bjorn
it.
Daddy was so instrumental in your mother's life.
Yes.
That she felt the urge to write him for a desperate plea to marry you.
Well, here's the thing. I'm like 22.
Right.
Is that so old that, I mean, she's desperate for me to be married?
Let's dissect this. Was she worried about you? And did she have cause to be worried?
Well, I was rolling out of cars.
Facts. That story, she must have seen a scuffed knee or 2, didn't see an elastic band in your pants, and thought to herself, my daughter's rolling out of cars. She needs to be wifed up.
Well, first of all, I did not live at home then. So my mother wasn't seeing any of that. I mean, I didn't go.
She saw it on Facebook.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, on the wall, on that wall. I think that my mother, I can remember Aunt Jenny saying to me once, Mom is worried about you. And I would be like, Mom should be worried about herself,
Right.
not me.
I'm almost positive that was the response.
Right. But I do think my mom had this strange duality, like do as I say, not as I do.
Oh, sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And that her life was her life, but that she had a whole separate standard for me. And I would not say that I was, was I going out? Yes. Was I going dancing with my girlfriends? Yes. Was I drinking? Probably yes.
Were you taking unknowingly illicit pot brownies? Yes.
Well, no, that was like one time, Kev. I mean, I never, and it was given to me. I didn't know it was
I
a
said
lie.
unknowing.
Okay, but
now maybe Barbara knew.
Was I using drugs? 100% no.
Not knowingly. Not knowingly. Unknowingly.
Okay, so anyways, point being is that, I guess Barbara could have been worried about me, but I'm 22. Give me a half a minute. I just graduated college, right?
I don't know. She felt compelled to write a letter to somebody you'd gone on 2 dates with.
The worst part about it is it feels like, I think there's more to the letter because it feels like he was incredibly concerned for me, that I had a nice life.
Because she probably said, my daughter's going down a path. I don't know what path, but there's a path that she's going down that I may just be making up in my mind. And I need...
And Bjorn, you can save her.
I need a man of your ilk to get out of Lebanon, to go home to Norway, to charter a plane on over here and marry my daughter, Deborah.
Yeah.
So she can be Debbie Bjorn.
So what had happened is he had met the woman that was ultimately going to become his wife. And I don't think it sounded like it was like Die Hard serious yet.
Yeah.
But he had met her. Okay. And then my mom throws that in the wrench. And then you also have to remember that he had said something to me about, wanting to be more serious or move to the next step or whatever that was.
Even though he didn't live
didn't live here. And I had firmly rejected that idea. So I think for him, it was like, oh, is there a possibility? Is there not a possibility? Like it caused a little bit of concern, maybe a little bit of conflict at the time.
Clearly, because he's writing you 40 years later.
Yeah. And he really, it sounds like, is very concerned with my level of happiness that I have.
Which is maybe why he's so impressed that you speak English so well.
Yeah. And I think I spoke English well back then.
It did not resonate with Bjorn the way you think it does.
And like he was concerned for me. He's happy to know that I am happy. And I said to him, we both made the right choices at the right moment, in the right time. No regrets. I did apologize for Barbara if she caused him any, grief.
Yeah.
I also apologized for myself because he has made reference a couple times to that difficult conversation we had.
Which is always so funny to me because clearly that still sits with him.
Yeah.
And you have zero frame of reference for it.
Yeah, I have gone into the deepest recesses of my mind.
Yep.
Okay. And this is mostly what I can come up with. And I think I wrote this to him, but I also said,
Oh, you broke up with him via text? Harsh, Dad.
no, I didn't. Well, it could have been a letter. I don't know. I don't remember.
Maybe that's how your mom got it. She was looking over your shoulder and she saw the postage.
Mom, what word should I use? So I think that this is what I said back to him. I said something like, but I acknowledge this is my older, wiser self talking. I don't know what my younger, more immature self, the language she would have used. But, I was 22. I know I did not want to get married at 22. And
especially to somebody who didn't live in the country.
I was still trying to make my way.
Who you had gone on 2 dates with.
Accomplish some things.
Correct.
I had some goals, right? So, and then there is the fact that he lives in Norway. Okay.
Correct.
And I don't think that I felt that it was worth the risk of giving hope to him with so many things stacked against it.
You weren't interested in being in a relationship with a guy from Norway living in Lebanon in the late 70s.
Probably not.
Fair.
Okay.
I think everybody who listens to this is going to say, yeah, that checks out.
No, I think there's a lot of people that go, but I'm madly in love with him and I'm going to wait and I'm going to find
No,
him.
I'm talking about people listening to you tell this story saying, oh, the woman who lived in Seattle who was 22 years old didn't want to date/marry the guy who was living in Lebanon from Norway and who she'd only gone on 2 dates with.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's anybody who's taking Barbara's side on this.
Yeah. But
And if there is, let us know. We'd love to hear your argument.
We'd love to hear it. But thanks, Barbara, right, for interfering in my life. And here's the one thing I want to say to people who have loved ones who have passed, who knew that they could continue to interfere in your life long after they were gone.
I'm addicted to Bjorn. I'm addicted to him.
I know you are. It bothers me.
I love him for coming back into our life together.
He didn't come back into our life.
So excited to one day meet him and have him on the podcast.
You are not going to meet Bjorn.
Having Bjorn on the podcast is a bucket list
First
of mine.
of all, do you know how many Bjorns are in Norway?
Don't care.
Millions.
I will interview all of them. I am your son. I will look at every phone book. I will call everybody until I find Bjorn Daddy. And we are going to have him on this podcast with his beautiful English.
Oh my gosh, you're kidding me. We can only pray that Bjorn never hears this.
We have nothing bad to say about Bjorn.
I know, but Bjorn, I think stuff translates differently, Kevin. The last thing in the world that I would want.
Bjorn, listen to me right now. You are eventually going to be on this podcast, whether in person, which I would prefer, or via phone. Nothing that has been said here is at your own detriment. If anything, we're criticizing a woman who wrote you a letter 40 years ago trying to arrange marriage for her daughter who was absolutely fine at the time. There is a constant invitation for Bjorn.
I do believe she was trying to arrange coupledom, not necessarily. We had not gone to marriage.
She wanted to trade you for a dowry.
She wanted
a Norwegian
10 goats.
dowry.
Yeah. So yeah, that was kind of funny to get that. It was the things that are happening in these alternate universes at the same time.
Totally.
That include you. It's like, I was thinking this week, sort of like time travel, right? Only not.
Oh, it forces you to literally go back and occupy the essence of your 22-year-old self.
And go, why did you let Bjorn go? Was that smart?
Or why was my mom trying to arrange a marriage? What did I do in that moment?
And wait, if she wrote to Bjorn, what else did she do?
Who else did she write to?
Who else did
soliciting
she scare
marriage?
Away?
And here's the other question. Did she expect you to go live in Norway, or did she expect Bjorn to come here?
I don't think she thought that out, for sure. Because my mom would not have expected me to go live in Norway.
Maybe she thought that's what was best for you.
Because I was so wild and crazy.
Because you were...
Yeah.
Cars go a little slower in Norway, less risk of falling out and tumbling to your death.
I don't know. It was just shocking to me that she did that. Shocking to me.
I'm so thankful for it 40 some odd years later. I my jaw was on the floor when you told me that Barbara sent him a letter.
This was the woman that when it came time to apply for colleges and I was applying for financial aid and I said, I need help with this part because it's all about you. She looked at me and she goes, I think you've got this. I mean, like,
we can't afford stamps.
Help with nothing, right?
Right.
So for her to intercede like this, and we need to say that Bjorn never wrote her back.
He did not.
Bjorn felt like he had a choice to either write her back or write me back. And he chose to do neither one.
For sure.
And he chose to move forward and marry his wife, who he's been married to now forever. And I think that was a good choice for Bjorn, as does Bjorn. Bjorn thinks that
they've
was a
been
good
married
choice
for 40
him.
plus years.
Yeah. So, but he is, like Kevin, you already know, the sweetest soul in the world.
He's my favorite Norwegian human being.
You only know one.
Adore him.
Do you know another Norwegian?
Hence why he's my favorite. I've been watching Lilyhammer, so there's a couple things I know in Norway.
Okay.
I could talk about this all day.
Let's not.
But let's not do that. For everybody's sake.
Yeah, seriously.
Segue.
Yeah.
Deborah.
Yeah.
Speaking about people being crazy in the times of COVID.
Yeah.
Let's talk about an employer's responsibility or just outright mandate of their employees getting vaccinated. Go.
So here's the thing I just want to say about this particular vaccine. It's a vaccine for a pretty dreadful disease.
Correct.
Right? And I think, it's not, as we say, a flu vaccine, where the flu vaccine has been tested and tried and tested and tried and tested and tried again and again and again. Okay. So we got this vaccine early, right? Maybe prematurely even, but to save lives.
We got it much earlier than any other vaccines typically come to the market. It usually takes 5 to 7 years, and we got it within a year.
Right.
Which is why some people are nervous about it.
Then when you also take that and realize that there are some political things out there that people have wrapped around the vaccine on both sides, right? On both sides, that it becomes, what shouldn't be all that controversial has become very controversial, right? But here's the truth. Here's what people want to know at the end of the day. Can your employer require that you get vaccinated? And the answer to that, and then I'll go into the detail, generally speaking, employers are free to require safety measures like vaccinations, with exceptions for certain employees. So a lot of people don't know that employers can require flu vaccinations. And a lot of times what employers do is they'll have like campaigns where they bring in, nurses or techs or whatever, and everybody gets their flu vaccination for free that day,
Right.
People, I think, can refuse them. They try to encourage them. We'll give you a $10 Starbucks card or, whatever it is. But they make a big deal about it because they know it'll affect the people calling in sick, and the flu, if it really hits, it's going to be less, right?
Sure.
So people will show up. So the answer to the COVID thing is pretty much yes, with a couple of exceptions.
Your employer can mandate that you get a vaccine, ... unless.
So the EEOC, which is the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, already allows companies to require employees to get vaccinated for the flu. So that's a done deal. Whether you knew it or not, that's how it's been for quite a while. Workers who don't wish to be vaccinated, there's 2 categories here, okay? For medical reasons. So if I really had, and this does exist, either with allergies or with people that have certain underlying conditions, I'll say, where they shouldn't get like a flu shot or a COVID shot, okay? Then under the Americans with Disability Acts, you literally can get out of it. Do you know what I mean? But it usually would require some kind of paperwork and evidence from a doctor to really say, this is her condition, and I recommend that she not get this, okay?
Okay.
So they can do it under the ADA, basically. The other place you can do it is under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And
we are all familiar with that, so feel free to skip over that.
Well, that
okay, sorry.
protects people who, and I'm going to use this language carefully, have deeply held religious beliefs. Now,
how do you define deeply held?
Well, here's the thing that I'm going to say. I think that you don't get to say if one of the tenets of your religion or your church is that you can go to the doctor and that you can go to the hospital and that you can have surgery and that you can take medicine, you can't suddenly make it that your church doesn't want you to get this vaccine.
Got it.
There are some religions that genuinely don't believe in medical care per se and believe that faith and prayer, that it's all about God's will and that is the answer. And they really don't get any kind of, medical care. Those people, when it's a deeply held belief as a part of one of those religions, that should be protected. And so, again, I think there probably is some requirement of proof, if you will. Okay.
Sure.
So the guidance that the EEOC basically is saying, take those two things out, right? So if you want to subscribe to those two things, you can. But even with the going to like the ADA, like I have this underlying thing, if for some reason like a hospital were to say, then it's not safe for you, nor is it safe for others, right?
Yeah.
They can attempt to provide you a place to work, or they can require that you wear certain garb. In that case, not necessarily to protect you, but to protect everybody else.
So they could say, we absolutely adhere to your religious beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
In order to counter that, here's your hazmat suit that you have to now wear 24 hours a day, 7 days a week when you're in this office.
Here's your hazmat suit. Here's your mask, shield, and gloves, whatever they wanted to do, right? They could do that, okay?
Pretty cool.
Because you still have your job. If it were the kind of business where literally working from home was completely and 100% legitimate, then of course we would hope they would do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we would want them to accommodate them. But at the end of the day, if the job can only be done in one place, right? The place of business. And if the person didn't want to put a hazmat suit on, if you will, right? Because they have these issues, then they might be out of job.
Legally.
Got
it.
Yeah. So
then give me not, I don't want the workaround. Give me the idea how we can come to some common ground on this.
So if I were an employer and I had a client ask about this week, and that's why I wanted to talk about it, because more and more what's going to happen is we've seen the healthcare workers get it, right? And I know there's even been a little bit of pushback in the healthcare world, but I do know of a couple different cases where hospitals had education courses led by pharmacists, right, who really understood the vaccines and everything. And the numbers changed entirely after people had, I'm going to say not Facebook news, but information from really credible sources, that more people were inclined to get the vaccine.
Got it. So
that's the one thing I would say is really provide your people with some education, because there's so much crazy stuff out there. And I would even say, I know several pharmacists, people that are really qualified. And I've asked them, how do you feel about it? And they've all said, I'm going to get it. I'm good with the studies. And then they'll explain why this vaccine or that vaccine. I think you could probably, as a business, it would not be that hard, even if it had to be on Zoom, to get a pharmacist to talk to your employees, right? For an hour or something, So I do think the education part of it would be very cool. The shots are free. We know that for everybody, so there's no expense involved. I think you could say, if you have a side effect, the side effects are normally lasting less than 24 hours, but we will pay you for the day if you have to call in sick. Do you know what I mean? For the first or second shot. Try to make it so that it's not, that that they don't, like I know some people have felt very fluish after the second COVID shot, but it's like a 24-hour thing, right? So you say, we're going to pay you, but stay home, if you have any side effects.
Give a little element of desirability around it.
And I think you can say things like, we're highly suggesting it right now. It's not yet mandatory, right? But we're highly suggesting it. And then I think you go to the place where you say, but if you're not going to get that shot, then I want you to wear a mask and like a face shield. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're going to be safe, whatever we do here. And then move from there. And then I think somewhere down the road, if you want to go to mandatory, if you really feel like it's important to your business, because I know some businesses, it would be a very important marketing thing to be able to say, our entire staff has had the COVID vaccine, right? I mean, it gives a sense of safety to people to enter a place where that has happened. So I think you could say maybe down the road it's going to be. And, we're getting information back. Most of the side effects have not been deplorable at all. So far, they're meeting all the guidelines that the FDA would have approved it anyways, right? They're finding that 95% of the people, I think it's with the Pfizer, I'm not sure, but 95% of the people are really, their immune system is responding to it. They won't get it. The 5% in there that do get it get not a deadly version of it. So much better chances of survival and less, dreadful symptoms, if you will.
Yep.
But I do think that you have to be clear that if it were very important to your business to have this, then, you can make it mandatory. And you can require it. I think the education helps. I think keeping it kind of light helps. I think doing something fun around it helps. Like, hey, after you get your shot, come over to me and I've got a gift card for you. Do you know what I mean? I think all of that helps. And then I think the conversation that you have after that is, so this is your job. How are we going to do your job and provide the same safety to everyone that shows up here every day, including our vendors, our clients, anybody that would walk in this door from you who are not yet vaccinated, right?
Yep.
I think also, too, we're going to move down, and some people are not going to like this, what I'm going to say. I'm not saying whether I like it or I don't. I'm just saying I think that it's going to be a thing, I think it's possible, I'm just going to say possible, that somebody would ask, they're giving people cards, and they don't give you a card with a flu shot, right? I mean,
correct.
They're giving people cards. So I think there's every opportunity that, and airlines could say, we're requiring the card to fly.
Already happening.
I think there's every opportunity that if I fly to Paris, they don't let me out of a tunnel until I have that card with my passport.
Already happening in certain countries.
So I think the more that becomes the norm, because what the vaccine is going to be symbolic of is freedom, right?
Correct.
Which it isn't, but it's going to be symbolic of that.
Sure.
And more people will subscribe to it. I know for me, I made horrible jokes about it in the beginning. Like, I'm not going to be the first to get the vaccine. I don't want an arm growing out of my nose. Do you know what I mean? I said stupid stuff like that. And I kind of meant it in the very beginning. I didn't want to be the first to get, pricked, but I want to get on with my life. So now I would happily, get the vaccine.
I'm with you.
So I think it's got to trickle down from our healthcare workers and our severely impaired, meaning like the people in rest homes. I think it's got to trickle down and get into our main population a little bit more. And then I just think like it's going to happen. But I think, people need to be able to ask the real questions from a professional. And I think a professional in this case would be, if you can get your hands on an epidemiologist, how great would that be? But I think a good pharmacist could give you data, and give you a place to go search out real facts, not Facebook facts. So
got it.
People could require that it be a thing. Do you know what I mean? And here's
Employers are well within their legal right to require it. There are certain elements that give the employees their legal right to defer it. And then it's up to the employer and to the employee to find that happy middle ground to where both can live and cohabitate together in the gray area.
And employers, if they do insist it, have been shielded from any liability. So, if somebody did have some weird side effect, employers are already protected from liability. All the lawyers in the world have said this. Any claims would be considered on-the-job injuries. In most cases, probably except for hospitals or doctors or pharmacists who are administering,
Mm-hmm.
In most cases, the employer is not administering,
Correct.
the shot. They enlist other healthcare. So if the employee gets a flu shot at a local pharmacy, even if you have a Get the Flu campaign and everybody goes and does it, and you're even, let's say, for a flu shot paying for it, you're not assuming any responsibility for that. That's encouraging to the employers as well. But I do think that what I would say, if somebody has a real emotional response to the vaccine, let's get the emotion out of it. Let's get some real hard facts in it, coupled with you having a conversation with your medical provider that then you try to share with your employer. And if you don't want to get it, have it be from a place of, I'm just going to say really hard facts. Unless, of course, you fall into those two categories and then you know what to do.
I think it's wonderful. I think you argued both sides and you found the middle ground. And this shouldn't be a hot button issue moving forward if you listen to this podcast, because you are now well educated to understand your legal grounds on either side of the argument. And we gave you some pretty great workarounds.
So in the beginning, let's nudge, let's not push, right?
Yep.
Let's have realistic, fact-based conversation about the vaccine and what it does.
Yep.
Let your employees ask somebody that is qualified to answer those questions and do their own research. And I think the biggest thing is to, try to give them some time, to get their heads around it. And if they really are uncomfortable with it, they have two real avenues they can go to. You need to decide how long you can be comfortable with them not having the vaccine. And then you need to decide what you need to do to make your business feel like everybody has it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
But I'm your son, as I always say. We're usually on the same page.
We do disagree, though.
Yeah, but not about stuff like this.
Not about stuff like this. No.
More like inviting Bjorn on the podcast.
More like that.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
You good?
I'm good.
Love it.
I hope it helps some people.
I think it will. And I also think this segment is going to help some people. We call it Dear Debbie. Of course, these are questions not posed to us, but they are posed to Dear Abby. We have obviously co-opted them, rebranded it, called it Dear Debbie. But if you're looking for the real answers, feel free to search them out on your own. We are just using this as nothing more than a satirical version of what Dear Abby might say. We are instead just asking Debbie's opinion on it. Please do not ever listen to anything that we say on this podcast. It is only meant to be fun.
If you disagree, we are totally cool with that.
1,000%. And we'd love to hear from you. If you want to hear your question on this, feel free to submit it to us. We are happy to have real questions in here as opposed to things we have stolen from other people.
Yes.
Question number 1.
Yes.
Dear Debbie, 20 years ago, my sister and I bought a business from our mother. We all love and respect one another and get along well. We will be finished paying off this business in 2 years. Our problem. Mom, who is now 77, still draws a salary from us above and beyond the payment for this business. Does that make sense?
They give Mom a salary as if she were an employee, and she also gets the payment of them paying off the loan.
Perfect. Her workload has lessened greatly, as it should. She could do all of her work in one day and lessen the burden of her salary. However, she says she'd go crazy if she retired. We don't want that. I'm assuming crazy. She could still come in as often as she wants and do her personal paperwork, banking, letter writing, what's up, Bjorn, reading, etc. These are all things she does at work on the clock. How do we have this difficult conversation with mom?
So is the question basically they don't want to continue to pay mom for a full-time job? We're assuming mom's getting paid for a full-time job.
Correct.
When mom could really do it,
In a
the real
day.
work in a day.
Correct.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to assume the mother was the original business owner.
Yeah, they bought it from her 20 years ago, so let's assume that she ran it for 20 years, so she's been doing it for 40.
Okay, so I'm going to assume that mom was an astute business owner and that mom truly knows, that she's just coming in to fiddle around, if
Got
you
it.
will, right? And if she doesn't know it in its entirety, I think the two daughters sit down with her. I love to do this like someplace a little bit in public so everybody behaves, meaning like, at a nice restaurant or something.
Jerry Maguire style.
Jerry Maguire style.
Got
like
it.
Thinking like we'll all
Nobody's going to scream at me in this busy coffee shop.
Exactly. Okay. But I do think, I would probably start out and say something like, so mom, I know you love to come in and you never want to retire, and same, right?
Yeah.
We want the same for you. But if we were to take the work that you do today and we were to consolidate it, and just meaning you did all that work, boom, 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 one task right after the other, how long, mom, do you think it would take to do it? Now, mom could say 5 days, but, they're going to have to say, well, actually, I know on some days you come in at this time, da-da-da-da. So you might have to draw that out of her. I think mom's going to be pretty realistic. Mom might say something like, well, I think probably 3 days. And then I think you really need to go through it with her and tell her how you came up to the 1 day.
Got it.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
There may be some compromise in that simply because she's your mother.
Correct.
Right? But I think then the next part of the conversation is, mom, you were a great businesswoman and you know that expenses are part of the thing. We would like, of course, we're going to continue to pay, the loan that we owe you, but we would like to take your salary and do this, whatever that looks like. I would err on mom's side, Jimmy, because she's your mom and she was the original business owner, which, by the way, you've let stay for all these years.
Correct.
Right? So there's some complicit behavior there. And I mean, I would just say, you're going to get this paycheck no matter what. Have it be something they can live with. And come in, don't come in, be here every day, be here a little bit. We count on you to get this stuff done. And after that, do whatever you want. I mean, I think you can do that. Here's kind of the problem with this is if that person comes in every day and doesn't have really a lot to do, then I think a lot of times they're disruptive to others because they're looking for that to be a replacement for their social life.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So I'm going to assume that that's not happening, that mom is happy, like she has a little office space. And like they said, she's happy to bring her letters in and pay her bills and do that kind of stuff. That she can come there anytime and do that. But I think that I think you have to draw on not the mother piece of it, but the astute businesswoman that started and developed that business.
I'm definitely not taking notes furiously in hopes of using this against you one day. That's definitely not happening at all.
I mean, the mistake that they made was, so mom would have been, how old was woman, 78?
77.
77. So mom would have been 57 when they bought.
Correct.
They should have had an exit plan for her.
I mean,
And
it
they
shouldn't have
didn't.
just been, hey, as long as this business is here, there's a home for
Yeah.
you, mom. It
Yeah.
should have said after 5 years, after 10 years, after 15 years, and if you're still here in 20 years, you're getting paid this and you're only required to do a day's work.
Yeah.
That type of forethought gets you off the hook for forever.
And you would have been talking about it all the time. You would have been encouraging mom, why don't you take every Friday off? Why don't you take every Monday off? 4-day weekend,
Yep.
right? I mean, you would have kind of gotten there. But it doesn't sound like they did that. So now they have to have, I don't see that as a really difficult conversation, but we don't know any of the personalities involved.
True.
Like if mom is really strong-willed and if she really believes that her participation is key to the business, right?
Yeah.
Whatever it is she's doing, then that's an ego blow. That's tough. That's a tough conversation.
Which is why you have to hammer it all out in the beginning, right?
Yep, I agree.
Dear Debbie, because of the downturn in the economy, I had to close my business. Let me tell you this. If anyone wants to know who their real friends are, here's how. Own your own business. Not one friend or family member has mentioned my business loss, much less offered condolences. And they all know. People have told my husband, who was not part of the business, that they feel sorry for me, but no one will say anything to me about it. I feel like it's the elephant in the room at gatherings when no one mentions it. Am I wrong to feel hurt by this? I don't know what to do about it. I'm amazed at everyone's rudeness and total self-absorption. Have we become a society that talks to one another only when there's good news, but is too busy to tell people they are sorry for their loss?
Wow.
Heavy.
She's layered a lot on that,
Yeah.
hasn't she? Yeah.
My first response is, I don't think that they like you at all.
A lot of assumptions built in there too.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay, so here's what I think. And especially if people are saying things to the husband, I think people do care. And that's significant. They've said something to him. I think it's very much like, what do you say to somebody that gets fired from a job? What do you say to somebody that loses a loved one?
Totally.
What do you say? Those are just difficult situations.
Yep.
And so I think people don't know what to say. I mean, that people are very uncomfortable with it. And so when it's your news, I think you have to be the one to declare it. And I think when you show that you're comfortable talking about it and it's not, and that you don't have a complete meltdown in the process, right? That you can get through parts of it, right?
Yeah.
Then I think that people will ask you. I mean, I think about, Dad having cancer, and I can talk about Dad having cancer and not get emotional at all. I mean, just that Dad has cancer, right? I can report on his current situation and how he's feeling physically and all of that. Now, there's a tight little box where that's all good, and I can report the facts of it, and it's not emotional for me.
Yeah.
And I kind of make sure that I stay in that box. Otherwise, I might be sobbing my heart out on any day about, what he's going through, right? So I think it's not somebody dying. She didn't get fired. What happened to her has happened to tons of people, unfortunately. And I do think she's got to say, hey, I lost my business. I'm kind of struggling right now. And I think any number of people would have jumped in and gone, oh my God, can we help you find a job? What can we do? We loved your shop. It was amazing. I mean, I think that's all the things she wants to hear, is that she and her shop are missed, whatever her business was, that she and her business are missed.
Yeah.
Right. And she's not getting that. And then I do think she's reading an awful lot into it that isn't necessarily accurate.
Yeah, you're giving the people the benefit of the doubt that they know how to handle your tragic situation.
Right.
And nobody does.
Nobody does.
And what nobody wants, and this is everybody's, I can tell you, this is everybody's impetus to avoid it. They don't want to bring it up because of you.
Exactly.
They know, they're probably smart enough to say, she sits with this every day. When she's around her friends, does she want her friends bringing up the fact that regardless if it's true or not, that your business failed? Your business didn't fail. The economy took a dump that you had no control over, and you're one of thousands that happened to.
Which doesn't mean that her pain is less.
True, but I guarantee they're erring on the side of not wanting to bring it up because they don't want you to feel worse.
Well, and I do think that with the way she posed the question, it feels like there's a lot of emotion on it.
Oh, clearly.
And so even more reason to avoid it, right?
I mean, you are clearly wired right now. You are loaded for bear, and I don't know that I'm willing to say that somebody probably said something to her at some point in time. It did not go the way that person had intended, and that story trickled down to everybody else, and now everybody's too scared to actually mention it anymore.
Say something, yeah.
I'm guessing that's the case.
Yeah, and I mean, here's the thing. We hope, I was just reading the other day this article, and it just broke my heart about the thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of restaurants that have closed in Mexico City, which is a foodie city, no question about it. And I mean, it's like, how long does it take to get tens of thousands of restaurants back? Right. I mean, that's just heartbreaking. But guess what'll happen?
They'll come back.
They'll come back. Different ones will come back.
Yep.
New ones will come back. Things that were never there before will come back. It will grow and blossom again because it's a foodie city.
Yep.
And so that's just the place, you know, when something like this happens, people get to reassess. Do I want to be a business owner? Would I rather just work for someone else? Do I not want to work at all? You know, it's a time of reflection. And, but she's really wounded with this. And she probably is requiring a little more than the average person thinks that they need to give.
Dear Debbie, this has nothing to do with business, by the way.
Okay.
My brother-in-law loves to give gag gifts for birthdays. He thinks it's funny to buy us whoopee cushions and inappropriately shaped pasta noodles. My sister just ignores her husband, but I told her that I'm not buying him gifts anymore because I'm sick of spending time and money to put into thoughtful birthday and holiday gifts for him while I just get a $5 joke as a present. This offended her, and she said that he is just trying to be funny. Well, it's annoying and rude. Plus, I have all these gifts, this has been going on for years, that are just collecting dust in a corner of my closet that I will never use and am too embarrassed to give away. His birthday is coming up next month, and I am tempted to not give him anything. What do you think I should do? He's a nice enough guy, but I'm really annoyed with him and my sister's attitude. Maybe just chill out.
Maybe chill out a little bit. First of all, the fact that she's kept them all is
insane.
Totally weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they're whoopee cushions, guess what? You know what you only need one of? A whoopee cushion.
Well, the other thing I'm thinking, I always get invited to some white elephant thing.
Totally.
That just goes in the white elephant box, and you take 2 or 3 of those and put it together, right?
Yep.
And,
this falls in the same category as the question we just had. I think this is more of your issue than it is this issue.
Right.
This guy does not care that you go buy him AirPods. He's still going to give you fake vomit. He doesn't care that the gifts are not equal because you're going for like appropriate adult sentimental gifts. And this guy's telling you, I don't care about that at all. I'm using this as an opportunity to lighten the moment, to be myself, to be funny. And as somebody who prides himself on being funny, I too will sell out regardless of the moment because it's fun for me. And that's what this guy's telling you. It's fun for him. Play along with the joke. If you don't get him a gift next time, I promise you he's not gonna care.
well, I also think that this guy, if these are $5 and $10 gifts, right? I mean, don't spend more than that on him. Whatever it is you get.
Get him a gift card to Applebee's.
Give him a gift card to Applebee's. Give him some ridiculous socks that are funny, right?
Totally.
Pizzas on the side or something.
If you meet him where he plays, he is going to love you forever. And you're not out anything because you didn't matter. Go steal some toy from your kid and gift it to him, and he's going to think it's hilarious.
Or go take a picture of all the horrible things he's given to you and order 6 mugs and put it on the front of it. He would love it.
Better. Like, this is such a you thing. This is, you need to get over your expectations for a guy who does not care about gifts and birthdays the way you do. And he's giving you a free pass to be cheap.
Well, the other thing I think the mistake she made, if this has been her brother-in-law for a long time, taking this and dumping it on the wife.
Yeah.
You and I don't have siblings, so what kind of advice can we give about this?
I don't have siblings.
But it feels like, I mean, if the guy is like hurting her feelings or something, she should go talk to him, right?
Yeah, but even still, check yourself. Check your privilege.
Being way too serious.
This is the biggest nothing burger in the world.
Yeah.
The fact that the guy remembers to get you anything for your birthday in the first place is great. And after the second or third birthday, guess what? He's going to keep getting you dumb gifts. What are your expectations?
Yeah.
Meet him where he plays.
No, I agree. I don't think it can be. I mean, you and I don't come from these like enormous generational gift giving families. I mean, I kind of think after a place, Christmas is mostly about the children to share gifts with one another and, draw a name or something. And then whatever guidelines you have around that. But I mean, if you want it to be different, then you've got to change up the rules of the game for everybody.
Right. and
Right.
understand that nobody's going to like you. Nobody
And
likes you if you're the person who says,
Right.
hey, Tom, so I know you've been doing this for 20 years, but like it's only me that doesn't find it funny. So
Right.
just go get me some nice silver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get me
Tom's,
whatever it is.
Tom's not going to do that. Tom's going to get you fart machines. Okay.
Yeah. And she can get Tom silly things. I mean, they don't have to be funny, but silly little, not expensive things that are thoughtful.
Get him pink Crocs.
Get him pink Crocs.
Tom, I guarantee you would
love
wear
that.
that ironically and think it was the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not Tom's problem. It's yours.
I agree.
I forgot that I need to start naming these people. It's much funnier if we name these people. That's Dear Debbie.
Okay.
Most of the issues lie with the people who are writing in.
Blasted all the people. Our column wouldn't be popular for very long.
I love you, Uncle Tom. Deborah,
Yes.
as we wind down, what are you thankful for this week, the fourth week of January?
So I think I'm thankful to myself, but I might be a little bit thankful to you.
Interesting road we're going down here where one starts thanking herself for her thankfuls.
So you wanted this device for Christmas that is like the best way it looks like a gun or a hairdryer. And you put different nozzles, different shaped things on the front of it.
Oh, God, yeah. Okay, I was like, where are you going
And
with
it's
this?
like the thing a chiropractor might use, like, or
It's called a Theragun.
is it called a Theragun?
Yep.
Okay. So you wanted one, and I bought you one. And as I was buying yours,
As a true only child, she bought herself one too.
I bought myself one too. So because I didn't want to share.
Like I said, as a true only child.
I love it.
It's great.
I love it. I love, like, my legs feel so good. I mean, I think it's helping my weird foot a little bit. I love it. I'm so happy. I'm so grateful for it. I feel like it's changing me. I had a headache the other day. I mean, it didn't work right away, but by the couple times I did it around my neck. I mean, I love it. I'm grateful for it. I'm happy. I'm glad I bought it for myself.
I'm happy that my gift could bring you such joy.
Okay, you're welcome.
That's great because I use mine too every other night. I pretty much, before I go to bed, I like just absolutely hammer on my legs and my shoulders and my forearms and all that stuff. And I mean, I don't know that it feels better, but I certainly don't feel bad. And
I
so
feel
I
better,
assume
for sure.
that that's doing something.
Yeah.
And I'll take that. I'm thankful for all the Bernie Sanders memes.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Talk
I go with
about
that.
the gift that keeps on giving. You know a viral moment when you see it. And when it's Inauguration Day and Bernie Sanders is sitting in a foldable chair by himself with his arms crossed, wearing the jacket from his previous meme of, I'm asking you for the same jacket to Joe's inauguration, and then it just goes everywhere.
It won't stop.
It's the
won't
best thing in the world. It's so funny because you know him and you know he doesn't care anything about this.
Yeah.
And even though it's been going on for like 5 days now, 6 days now, he probably only found out about it today because he doesn't care. And it's now just taken over the internet. And it's the funnest thing happening in the world. Where will you see Bernie next?
Well, I know our friends from Alaska. She did a whole thing. Bernie is everywhere. They have put him everywhere in Alaska, which is super cool. My personal favorite so far, and I just want to say so far, is Amy Schumer posted a picture of literally her giving birth.
Yep.
And Bernie is down, like sitting like in the spot to catch the baby. And she said, Bernie has always been there for me and my family.
Yeah.
It was hysterical.
I saw an old photo with the Wu-Tang Clan in black and white, and they put Bernie right in the middle of it with the RZA's hands just chilling on his head. It's the best thing going,
It is.
hands down. And if you don't know what we're talking about, just Google Bernie Sanders meme and have fun for the next 4 days.
Yeah. So I do hope, though, this is a hope I have.
Okay.
Because on one of the early memes, they posted the girl that gave Bernie those mittens. It was, and I think that she has a shop or something. I mean, she creates those kind of mittens. I hope that girl is getting orders like there is no tomorrow.
It'd be
Do you
great.
mean, I just really hope that everybody is like continuing to make memes of Bernie and that she's getting orders for cold mittens, you know?
Regardless of political beliefs, we can all get behind the Bernie memes.
For sure.
Deb, what's for dinner tonight? I'll answer it because I'm cooking. I call this a kitchen sink meal. We're going to take bell peppers.
Okay.
Chop the tops off.
Yep.
Core them out.
Yep.
No seeds, no ribs. Then we just have vegetables. We have some meats. We have some grains. We have some cheeses. I'm just going to saute them all together, salt them a little bit, stir it all up, shove it into the stuffed pepper, put a little oil on the sides, shove them in the oven, cook them for about 45 minutes. The bell pepper on the outside is going to be nice and soft and tender. Everything.
A little char, maybe a little char.
Maybe a little char. I crank it up to like 400.
Okay.
Everything inside will be fully cooked. Then I top it with whatever cheese preference your father would like so that it's nice and ooey-gooey on top. Take it out, throw a side dish on it. It is the best way to clean out a refrigerator, and I am happy to just cobble it all together.
Kevin, I can go with that all day. Thank you. As long as I don't have to cook, we are good. I will never complain about anything.
I'm happy that my selflessness is adding to another thankful for you, which you are then going to co-op.
Probably. The Bernie meme was very good.
The Bernie meme was good, but my gift of a Theragun is also treating you well, too.
It is. It's treating me
as
very
will
well.
my cooking treat you well.
Yes.
As
so
well.
We are advocates. Look it up. Theragun. We like it.
Anything else, Deborah?
I think we're good. We have successfully, if he ever listens to it, probably embarrassed Bjorn.
Not.
Or you have.
I refuse to believe there's an element about anything we've said that would be embarrassing to my guy.
Okay.
Bjorn.
At least you said his name normal today, not like you did the first time.
I know, because I love him so much. I respect him. I just respect him to all hell and back. That's going to do it for us this week on the Deb and Kev pod. Remember to like, rate, and review wherever you listen to this podcast and follow us on all of our social channels. And you can watch this episode on YouTube. I want to say there's like 20 people that watched us last week.
Is that
20,
true?
20. See our smiling faces. Mom, I love you to death.
I love you, baby.
Guys, that's going to do it for us. We will see you on Thursday. Shout out Bjorn.
Thank you for listening to the Deb and Kev podcast. Remember to like and subscribe wherever you listen to this podcast. Follow Deb and Kev on Facebook and on Instagram and Twitter at Deb and Kev Pod.